to the Johns Hopkins University Learning Experience with Maryland Business Roundtable for Education. My name is Carrie Pannoni, and I'm the State Program Manager for Maryland Business Roundtable. And we have joining us today many of our coordinators with the Next Generation Scholars Program. Just quickly, Leonard Webb from Allegheny County, Andra Anderson in Kent County, Morgan Cox from Caroline County, Lori Bell from Dorchester County, our Chief Strategy Officer from MBRT is joining us, Nona Carroll, and I couldn't go without saying that we also have, and I don't know if any of the coordinators who are representing, but Somerset County from our Next Gen Scholars Partners. And Tosh Williams, I'm not sure if he is on here, but he is our Wycomico County coordinator as well for Next Gen. So we want to give a warm welcome to Bailey Jacqueline, who is our Johns Hopkins University connection, and she has been helping plan this event with me for months. Goodness, we've been meeting to discuss. So let's get started. First off, we want to just say a few things about just the process and the agenda. Let me share my screen quickly and just go over the kind of ground rules and our agenda. So, sorry. All right, someone make sure you can see that in the chat, or tell me, come off of mute and tell me you can see. We're good. Thank you, Bailey. Or whoever that was. But we're going to start with our introductions, which we kind of already have done. But have your mics off, raise your hand, and feel free, students, to type in the chat or ask questions. This is going to be an interactive session for you to learn everything Johns Hopkins University. And as you can see, that's our next agenda item. And we're going to be going over a ton of topics with our student panel, which we want to welcome. And I will have Bailey do her own introduction of the students who, the current Johns Hopkins students who are joining us today. And then we will have a STEM activity. We'll be joined by Dr. Erin Pannoni, who is a Johns Hopkins alum, for a STEM activity to explore the M in STEM. And then we're going to take a quick survey at the end just to get your feedback. We're always looking to improve on our programs and share with you about our free student resources. And so let's get started. I will stop sharing.
All right, and I will take over sharing and put up my slides. All right. Are you all able to see? Just a yes from somebody would be great.
Yes, thank you, Bailey.
No worries.
Just to reiterate that this is an interactive session, so when the students share their input, we're not having necessarily a separate question and answer session at the end. We want you to ask your questions, raise your hand, put in the chat to make this session as interactive as possible. With the students, we want you to ask the students directly. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Carrie. And I think whenever I present, I lose access to seeing the chat. So when we get to the Q&A sections throughout, I'll rely on someone to feed me those questions and we can ask. But welcome everybody again. My name is Bailey Jacqueline. I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions at Johns Hopkins University. I am also your representative. We are point of contact if you're interested in Hopkins. I cover just about everywhere in Maryland except for Baltimore City and County. And I also have Washington, D.C. as well. I am joined today by one of our current students. Cameron, you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Cameron. I'm currently a junior studying international studies and economics with a minor in marketing at Hopkins, and I'm from Baltimore County, so very close. So if you guys have any questions, let me know.
And I think Yvette, I don't think Yvette was able to sign on, but if she's able to join us in later on, that'd be wonderful. But we'll have Cameron's perspective throughout the course of the presentation. Our goal today is to really give you a crash course in all things Hopkins academically, inside and outside the classroom, in terms of student life, and in terms of the admissions and financial aid processes. As the admissions officer, I'll be able to give that main information, and then we will have Cameron, who can provide that real world perspective for you. So she's the one going through this process herself. We'll have designated portions throughout the presentation to ask questions on those areas. So as we're talking, I hope you guys will have your brains churning away. So let's set the stage for you all. You're all coming from Maryland, but we do know that it's important to put us in the context of the greater country, but also the DC area and DMV area as well. We are in Baltimore City, so varying lengths from wherever you are all tuning in from, but you know, as coming from the local area, Hopkins has quite the footprint, not just in the DMV, but nationally and especially internationally as well, with the Bloomberg School of Public Health. We are the nation's first research institution, the very first college to go beyond teaching what was already known and to really begin to ask new questions, identify new problems to solve, and take those solutions outside of our campuses and put them forth for the world. We are part of the vast Johns Hopkins University network. You can see that listed out on the bottom of your screen with the big gray bar. That is inclusive of the other campuses you might be familiar with, the graduate campuses of medicine, nursing, the School of Advanced International Studies in DC, the Peabody Music Conservatory, and these campuses are within the reach of our undergraduate students. They can take classes at some of them, they can do research, follow other faculty members, but our focus today in the campus that Cameron and I represent is that blue bar on the end, the Homewood campus, the home of our undergraduate students. At the undergraduate level, we're medium size. So even though Hopkins itself is a big entity, our institution is definitely on the medium to small side of 5,300 undergraduate students. And we are comprised of 2 undergraduate schools, the Krieger School of Arts and Sciences and the Whiting School of Engineering. Now at Hopkins, with the exception of one program, which is biomedical engineering, and I'm happy to take questions on that one later, students apply to the university as a whole because we are founded first as a liberal arts institution, one where each and every one of the disciplines come together and students really get to explore all of them at once. Since we're not able to be on campus to host you, we did want to take an opportunity to show you what our campus looks like. We are very fortunate to really get a best of both worlds situation. We are an urban institution in that we are located in Baltimore City, and that affords our students opportunities in terms of entertainment, cultural engagements, research, and internship experiences right in and around the area. And students in their latter 2 years, juniors and seniors, live off campus in the immediate area. But we are also a traditional campus. We're residential for those first 2 years, where all first and second year students live on campus. And we have that green grassy quad, red brick, white marble feel. So at a place like Hopkins, students don't have to choose between those 2 environments. They get both of those. So what are they doing whenever they are on our campuses? They are engaging academically. As a preview to this a couple slides back, I talked about our academic philosophy. We are a liberal arts institution. What does that mean? The liberal arts are the big disciplines that allow you to critically think, speak, write, and quantitatively analyze. Rather than admit students directly into a major or even prescribe a certain track for them, we give our students a lot of academic freedom and flexibility to become critical thinkers, effective speakers, and writers. We do this through having them take classes across the academic spectrum. Humanities like history, foreign language, English, social behavioral sciences like public health, economics, sociology. Engineering, anything that ends in engineering, quantitative sciences, which would be like your math courses, and the natural sciences like biology, neuroscience, and chemistry, for example, they get to really design their own experience. Now, while they get to take classes in these different areas, we're not going to tell them what those classes need to be. You get to decide for yourself, what does being a well-rounded student look like for me as an individual, whether you know exactly what you want to study, or it's going to take shape over the course of your 4 years. So Cameron, if this is kind of the backdrop of what the academics look like, what does it really look like for a student going through this open curriculum?
Yeah, it's definitely very flexible. So a lot of students get to take a lot of different things. Me personally, I take a lot of business classes in the minor and CLE, And I just really think it's great to be able to open up my horizons, take classes I've never been able to take before. I have a lot of friends who take classes that aren't anywhere near their majors just for fun, just because we have such an open curriculum. It's really great to be able to just experience different classes and have that flexibility in our schedule.
It really does have individual and community benefits. From the individual side, it means that students who know exactly what you want to do, you can dive right into the major that you're interested in without having to wait. And those that are open-minded, you can try new things without any fear or pressure of falling behind. We actually delay the period that students had to declare their major, end of the first year for engineers and end of the second year for arts and science students. So they have the time to try new things, to really expand beyond those disciplines that were available to them in high school, to those 52 different majors that we have at Hopkins. It also means that you can add on different majors and minors as well. You heard Cameron say she is able to pursue classes through the Center for Leadership Education. That's where many of our business-related fields are. Hopkins doesn't have business as a major, but we do have a whole suite of minors related to business that can be added to any major. That flexibility allows her to be able to do this. In fact, 60% of our students are going to add on a major or a minor, sometimes 2 or 3 times over, without any added time or expense, because this is just built right into the curriculum for you. And in terms of community, it means by taking classes in many different disciplines, you're going to get to meet and interact with people who have very different academic interests to you. And we think that's so important. We think it's important to really step outside of your own background, because each and every person, no matter what their major is going to tackle a problem in a new way. And we believe by coming together from all the different disciplines, like in a class on housing policy, for example, you might have civil engineers and political scientists and economists as well. They're all going to take a very different approach, and tackling those real world problems, really it comes with the benefit of having those multiple diverse perspectives. And it is when you bring folks together from all different types of walks of life, academically and demographically, that innovation is born. I mentioned at the beginning of the session that we are the nation's very first research institution, and 98% of our undergraduate students are going to do some form of applied learning. Research, internships, study abroad, service learning, job shadowing, any way that they move from the theoretical within the classroom to the applied they're going to be making very real and lasting contributions to the academic, social, and professional landscapes. Maybe they had the ability to do some hands-on learning in their high school experiences. I know, reading for Maryland, sometimes you might have access to Project Lead the Way courses, or career education or co-op experiences in your high schools, and you want to continue those. Other students, maybe this is the first time they're stepping out into a research or an internship, and that is wonderful as well. Our resources take students wherever they are in their journey, and we can match them with offices like the Hopkins Office of Undergraduate Research, or if you're interested in going abroad, the Office of Study Abroad, to really open up those possibilities for you. Cameron, at this point in your Hopkins experience, I know that you and your peers have probably had lots of opportunities to do some hands-on learning. Want to talk about what that's looked like for you?
Yeah, sure. I actually had an internship starting last summer, and I finished it end of December. So I got to do that during my fall semester last few months ago.
Even during COVID.
During COVID, yes, it was online, but I was able to get credit for that, and it was really great just to be able to get that pre-professional experience while also still being able to go towards my degree. So, yeah.
Do you mind sharing more on that? And
yeah,
also,
what were you doing in your internship?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was a market research intern at a consulting company. It's actually in Baltimore, and I was able to do that remotely. I just researched for the firm, and I met with them about like twice a week, and it was really, I actually got it through, we have an app called Handshake at Hopkins, and you're able to get jobs through it. I got the job through that, and it's targeted just for Hopkins students. So the employers that are posting on the job page are looking just for Hopkins students, and I got it through that. So it was also really easy to get credit for that. I had to go through my advisor, and they were very accommodating.
That's great. Really, I want to kind of also go back to just your previous slide just quickly, because I don't think we gave the students an opportunity. I know in our our registration question, we asked them what are they interested in learning more about, and many of the students were interested in expanding their knowledge on the various programs. So just to kind of backtrack a little, perhaps we can open up to the students what program are you interested in? Maybe you could share. This is your time in the chat, or raise your hand if you want to say.
I'll stop presenting briefly so I can see you all, and we'll bounce back. Okay, so feel free to hop in the chat.
Yes, and maybe even Bailey after each of the sections, because I know we talk, like about open it up for questions.
Yeah, we'll be pausing after student life and Baltimore, and then after admissions at the end. So this was a natural stopping point to talk all about academics.
Yes, awesome. So any questions, please feel free. Share in the chat. What are you interested in? What program are you looking to go into? Our student Cameron shared her interest, or her program that she's in, and the internship. And maybe while we're waiting, Cameron, you can expand a little bit more on what you hope your future looks like, and in that respect of academics at Johns Hopkins. And while we wait for some students to post in the chat their interest in their program that they're interested in.
Yeah, sure. So my majors are international studies and economics. Again, it's really easy to double major, and then I am minoring in marketing. Everyone I know has either a double major, double minor, even more than that. Hopkins students are very excited to learn, and the Hopkins experience just makes it very suitable to do that, to take on as much as you want to learn, which I am very grateful for. I was looking for that when I was going through the college process. And yeah, I guess I hope in the future try to get into some sort of business, but Hopkins has a lot of good connections. Our Life Design Lab, which is basically our career center, also really helps out a lot with that. They have a lot of different workshops for meeting companies, resume building, interview tips, and they've also helped me through finding an internship for this summer. But yeah, my majors are definitely very open, so that's really great with Hopkins. I've gotten a lot of experience doing a lot of different things, so just a very multifaceted education, so I can prepare for a lot of different things.
Awesome. So we have some students who have chimed in, and thank you, Valicia, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. Biology, she's interested. And I'm sorry, it says MT is in computer engineering, has an interest. And Michaela is interested in being an RN. We also have another one chiming in. Political science with Amina. Great. And
so I'm happy to speak on some of these. We actually have most of these different pathways at Hopkins, and I'm excited to see just how academically diverse this group is. So biology would be in our one of the natural sciences. I see someone else says medical. Students interested in medicine or pre-health in any way can participate in the pre-health advising track. So medicine is something you can't study until you're in graduate school, but you can take classes and get hands-on learning in undergrad to set you up later on. And studying those different majors are certainly some of the ways that you can do that. Political science, another really popular one for us. We have many students who will spend even time during the academic year doing internships, not just in Baltimore, but also in Washington, D.C. Public health has certainly gained a lot of interest over the last year, and our Bloomberg School of Public Health is a pivotal role with this. All public health majors actually have a required applied experience, so they, as part of their very curriculum, get hands-on learning embedded in there as well. And I do want to make a note, though, on the folks that are interested in nursing. So Hopkins actually does not have nursing as an undergraduate program. The Johns Hopkins School of Nursing is a graduate program. Students that are interested in nursing can still participate in that pre-health program the same way that students interested in medicine would, and they be getting the hands-on learning experiences and prerequisite classes to study nursing at the graduate level and still maintain that academic flexibility in undergrad. But for students who are, know you want a direct entry nursing program, you want to study that at undergrad, Hopkins actually does not have that as an undergraduate program, but there's many institutions that do have that. Architecture, for us, that might be civil engineering. Psychology is another one that has been increasing in popularity, another excellent social science. So thank you all. This is great. Any questions about academics before we talk about outside the classroom?
Well, one other thing I'd like to point out, and especially since, thank you all for sharing, Shelby, our next guest is an alum, I mentioned, of Johns Hopkins, and they're going to provide that perspective of the next steps, beyond how Hopkins can help you get into that next school, your graduate school. So that hold that thought on that, and especially in the health field, because that's the field, public health. If Shelby, you're interested, our next guest also can talk to you more about that as well. So just wanted to give a little precursor there. But thank you all the students for chiming in. This is great.
All right, now we're going to leave the classroom. I'm going to go back to my slide deck, and then we'll do a very similar setup for student life as well. Play from the current slide. All right, so in your college experience, certainly academics are going to play a large role, and that's true for our Hopkins students as well, but it is absolutely not the sum total. In fact, everything that's happening outside of academics is just as important, just as educational, and truly just as valuable as everything that's happening inside of academics. So thinking about the ways in which our students are crafting their lives in their student organizations, in their work, in volunteering, in connecting with the greater Baltimore community, this is all a part of their college experience. In the same way that we gave our students a lot of freedom inside the classroom to choose their classes with that open curriculum, we take a very similar approach when it comes to student life as well. We have over 400 student-run organizations, and I am quite intentional when I say student-run. I mean that our student life is for the students, by the students. The groups that are there because students want them to be there. They are run by students. The budgets and the resources are provided by the institution, but the students get to drive how those are allocated. They are connecting with entities off campus. They are acting as professionals. They are accruing those real world skills that graduate schools and future employers are going to be looking for, but they're doing this through organizations that are meaningful to them. So maybe you're interested in continuing something that's held meaning for you in the past. I typically see the big three of students coming out of high school tend to be the performing arts, athletics, or community service. Those can all be done at Hopkins in various levels, whether athletics, that's at the highest level varsity or club or intramural. Performing arts at the highest level, doing a double degree program, that's 2 bachelor's degree programs in music and undergraduate studies at Hopkins and the Peabody Music Conservatory, or maybe taking part in our thriving a cappella scene or student-run performing arts initiatives, and community service by engaging in one of our major programs with the Center for Social Concern, a hub that houses over 50 student-led initiatives in community service, or some shorter-term initiatives throughout the course of the year. Or maybe it's time to try something new. Delve into your culture in a higher level. Go into an academic honor society. Experience somebody else's culture for the first time. All of these experiences are within your reach in your undergraduate time. And to put this more into a framework for you, your college day is drastically different than your high school day. In high school, in a traditional environment, we of course know that you're in school from about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning to 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, give or take an hour depending upon your community. In college, you have 1 to 3 classes a day. They're not meeting at 7:30 in the morning. They're not meeting every day, and they're not going all day. So you just have more time to craft your experience, and the students who get the most out of it and the students who are happiest at Hopkins are the ones who are eager to engage and make an impact. But enough from me on that one. Cameron, I know you've become involved in the time that you have been with us. Could you speak about what you are involved with on campus, and more specifically, what that's looking like right now in this hybrid environment?
Yeah, so when I'm not involved in admissions, I'm involved with a sorority on campus. I'm involved with Hopkins Hillel, which is the Jewish Student Association. I'm involved with different clubs within my major to help kind of facilitate student contact with professors. I'm also involved with club field hockey. But yeah, being able to just really get involved in COVID. Our whole school was online last semester and the semester before. So just being able to really meet people, go on Zoom and talk to people that you're not usually talking to was amazing. A lot of my clubs now do online activities, which has been really fun. We're a hybrid this semester, so being able to do a little bit more has been really exciting. And hopefully when you guys get to Hopkins, you'll be able to go in person and get more involved.
our students and our institution have really sought innovative ways to keep up this momentum, keep up this engagement. We're definitely a place for people who take ownership of their undergraduate experience. And I can say, witnessing, third party as a staff member, the ways in which our students are still calling the virtual space their own. The university purchased licensed Minecraft accounts for all students. So if they wanted to recreate their Hopkins experience in Minecraft, they could. There is this sense of feeling like, even though our current operations are not the traditional, we are still a community. And I think that that's felt in student life, even in the virtual space too. But as we talk about community, and before we take another break, we would be totally remiss if we didn't talk about our greater community. We are located in Baltimore City, and I know you all are from Maryland, but you're not from Baltimore. So to speak about what our undergraduate experience is like, the university and the city have a reciprocal relationship whereby we give and receive so much for one another. And our students, those who get the most out of their Hopkins experience, really understand that they are not just Hopkins students, they are also citizens of Baltimore. Quite literally, in the sense that especially in their latter 2 years when they are off campus living in the immediate area, they are living as Baltimore citizens. They're engaging in research and internships at our major companies, some of them, of course, Hopkins affiliated, like obviously the medical school and the medical system, but also T. Rowe Price, Morgan Stanley, Under Armour, the Baltimore Sun, who are actively looking for Hopkins students to instill that professional development. We're also a mid-sized city. So Hopkins is a mid-sized school in a mid-sized city, which means the opportunities that you see on your screen in terms of dining and parks and concert venues are all accessible physically and financially, priced at an excellent point for Hopkins students. We are also lucky being in this area that we're not alone as an institution. We are part of the College Town Network, where there are 14 colleges and universities in and around Baltimore. You might be familiar with some of the other ones. Towson to our north, the University of Baltimore to our south. Our basically next door neighbor, Loyola of Maryland, is right there. And so our students are really part of a larger, diverse, youthful collegiate community who, especially after graduation, call Hopkins their own. Now, Cameron, I know you said you're from Baltimore County, but yet still would have been a transition coming into the city for your college years. Is there anything that really surprised you when you became a Baltimore citizen this way, or where your favorite parts are?
Yeah, I mean, definitely coming from about a half an hour away from campus, I really thought I knew what Baltimore was, but actually living here was very different. I found that reading it top 30 most exciting food cities in the US, definitely true. Me and my friends try out a new restaurant every day. It's all amazing. Being able to go out to different towns in Baltimore and just seeing what's going on has been great. And it really hasn't been that bad of an adjustment because it's just been so fun. There's so many things going on. And just there's always something to do on the weekends and when you have time to go out.
It really is a city of neighborhoods, each with its own unique identity and flair, and each loves to celebrate that unique identity. So students who come to Hopkins really get to connect and find a community both on our campus and in the immediate area that is going to be that best fit for them. Before we take our break, we're going to cap off the student experience with a little bit of what Cameron was talking about earlier, which is outcomes. What happens at the end of this? So I know many of you, as you're thinking about where you are looking to go to college and what type of college is going to be a fit for you, this really does echo the conversations that our students have while they're in college about what they're going to do next. And what they're going to do in terms of their entire life. And that's a big question. And one of the resources that really is pivotal in this, that Cameron mentioned earlier, is our Life Design Lab. Formerly known as our Career Center, our Life Design Lab is here to help our students, as the name suggests, put together all the pieces of their undergraduate experience and set them up for anything that happens afterwards. They do still provide those traditional Career Center services, like the resource that Cameron mentioned, Hopkins Handshake, is right on there. That's that online platform for finding jobs and experiences, on-campus recruiting, and helping you through an interview process. But it is so much more holistic than that. We have life design educators, the staff that are there, that are embedded in the academic departments all around the campus. So you don't have to go to any one building to find them. These folks come to you, and they will talk to you as early as your freshman year, not asking you, what are you going to do after graduation, but what's your favorite class and why? What clubs are you involved with, and what do you enjoy about them? let's say that your intro to bio class is your favorite class. They're going to ask you why, and you're going to have to answer, is it because I love the labs, the hands-on learning of it? Is it because I really clicked with that professor and I want my career to be exactly like theirs? Is it because of how collaborative it was? No matter what the response is, they're going to help you find other experiences that use those same themes, put you in other hands-on learning experiences, connect you with that faculty member to maybe do research. You're chasing these moments where you feel like, yes, I really enjoy this. And at the end of this is when you're going to find the graduate programs that are going to be the best fit for you and the job opportunities that are going to be an excellent fit for you. We're very fortunate at Hopkins that, our questions are not, are our students going to have jobs and are our students going to get into graduate programs? We are lucky to have excellent resources and excellent placement rates. It comes down to, are our students enjoying what they're doing? Do they feel fulfilled in the experiences that they have? And by getting in front of our students as early as their first year and connecting and helping them with all the things that come together, their classes, their student clubs and organizations, study abroad and research, and package it in a way that helps you understand what you want to do, our students are ready for that next step. So we'll take another. Oh, yes, we're going to pause perfectly right here. Excellent.
Interject. Thank you for all of that. And I just noticed we have, and thank you, Tosh, we have a student with their hand up. So
excellent. Natural point to stop.
Yes, someone has a question, and and I don't see who it is, but please feel free to go off mute and ask your question.
Yeah, it was student initials MT.
Okay. Do you want to share your question? And all you have to do is click on the microphone up top to the right to go off mute. Or if you would rather, put your question in the chat. Either one works. Let's see here. Let's see. Join the meeting. Okay. Perhaps. Oh, okay. Perhaps this person can type their question in the chat, and that's what we'll move on, and we'll wait to hear. So we'll keep an eye on that, and I'll let you know.
That's good. We're at a place where we can take any questions about student life. Remembering from this section, it was clubs and organizations, the different clubs that Cameron or maybe her friends are a part of. If what Cameron is doing is not as super exciting to you, she's got plenty of friends doing tons of different things. Also live life in Baltimore.
What are we doing? So we're talking about Johns Hopkins student life on campus and off, life in Baltimore. If anyone has any questions, maybe we can start by Cameron. What is your favorite restaurant in Baltimore City? How about that?
That's a toughie.
I think my favorite restaurant, there's so many to pick from, but there's a restaurant in Hamden called the Food Market. It's really good. It's like New American, and I always go there, but there's so many.
Excellent brunch location.
Yes, yeah.
I think brunch it might be one of the things I miss the most in this pandemic.
Right. So expand maybe, Cameron, on your experience, like what your typical day looks like in the life of a Johns Hopkins student. When do you have classes? Or do you have evening classes? Like, what's your typical schedule look like? Just briefly.
Yeah, it's very flexible. For me, I like to do things in the morning. A lot of people don't like doing things in the morning. But like I have friends that do stuff at night or in the afternoon. But today I had class from 11 to 11:50, then 12 to 1:15. So I kind of like stack it. And then I had this. And then later I have work from 4 to 7. And that's basically like a typical-ish day. I usually do class from like 10 to 2.
Now, the work, is that a job as an internship, or is it maybe a job through Johns Hopkins? I know that students might have the opportunity to do work study.
Yeah, I actually work at our recreation center and they do offer work study. And they employ so many students, and a lot of students here have on-campus jobs. And it's really just a great way right now in COVID to get out of your apartment, see people that you wouldn't have seen usually, and just like make easy money.
All right, awesome. We have and speaking of questions, we have another one. What sports are available at Hopkins? I know that's always a favorite question of our students.
We've got tons of them. About to drop it in the chat right now, a direct link to them. But I think what's interesting about us is that we are multi-divisional. There are not many schools that are like this. We are Division III for everything except for men's and women's lacrosse, which is Division I. And that's what our homecoming is based around. When I used to recruit in Texas, it blew their minds that homecoming wasn't around football. And I said, no, it's around lacrosse in the spring. That is what it is like for our institution. But then outside of all the varsity sports, which all have their formal recruitment processes, we also have club and intramural. Cameron, you mentioned you're part of club athletics.
Yeah, I'm a part of club field hockey. A lot of different clubs. Mine is very relaxed, but it's just a great way to like stay active and keep up with sports. But other ones are a little bit more intensive, have like more of like a recruitment style type of getting people onto the team. But yeah, there's a lot to get involved, and there's also intramurals, which you can just like get apart with your friends.
So intramural, to expand on that, is more of an open, like, come play lacrosse, and it's not as organized, meaning there aren't tryouts, there isn't recruitment. It's more just for fun, correct?
Yeah. A lot of people like will get their hall together to form a team, their friend groups to form a team. When we went online, there was esports that people did, which I thought was interesting, but they've been very creative with their ways to get people involved this semester.
I think to kind of put a button on the student life piece, this would be true wherever you are looking to go and whenever you're thinking about your next step, is remembering again that your life is not just your classes. It is everything that happens outside of it. And it's about assessing how much you want any one activity to be a part of your life. And you do not have to have that answer during orientation. Orientation will help you, and it's more likely that you will become very involved very quickly. And some of those activities will stick. Many of them will not, and that is fine. How else would you know? I'm sure, like Cameron, there were some clubs you tried out freshman year that didn't stick. I mean, me and my own undergraduate experience, I did not go to Hopkins, but I was pre-law for like a day, and then I found other things I wanted to do, and that is part of it. So as you take a sample of all these different experiences, the ones that are really going to be meaningful for you, you will find the time to keep around, and you will be able to carve out that space in your day. The moral of the story is just be open. And don't assume that you would or would not like any one thing until you've had the opportunity to try it out. And that's advice I would give you for life in general, but truly any college that you are looking to go off to. So with the remainder of the time that we have, we are going to jump over to the beginning of the process and talk about admissions and financial aid before our final break with questions, where I will leave you all with some resources before we sign off. So you've heard a lot today, which has only begun to scratch the surface of the undergraduate experience at Hopkins, and I'll leave you with more resources to learn more. But it'd be really helpful, we know, to share with you, how do we get here? Where are we finding these students that are engaged academically as active learners, that are intellectually curious in the ways in which they're doing research and hands-on learning, that make an impact on our campus and the city of Baltimore? This all comes to our admissions process. And you can see on this slide, these were the deadlines for this academic or cycle year. We have not yet published dates for the future years, but they're basically going to give you an idea of when these are. We have 3 timelines, so 3 different application rounds for first year admission. Those are the ones that are early decision 1, early decision 2, and regular decision. And we have a transfer admissions round. So transfer admissions, I'll just mention this one first. This is for students who, after high school, they then go off to another college or university, whether that was a 2-year college or a 4-year college, and they look to change. Students who are enrolled, let's say, in dual enrollment or early college, they still apply as first-year students because they have not sought out those college experiences afterwards. So talking about first year, we have those 3 deadlines. Now, what's the difference between them? Every college university that you're going to be looking at will have different decision plans and different deadlines. Pro tip, create a spreadsheet for yourself to keep these all straight because they're all going to be different. But at Hopkins, we have 3. Early Decision 1 and Early Decision 2, these are binding admissions agreements. What does this mean? It means you have decided, as the name suggests, early that Hopkins is your #1 choice. You have done your research. You are ready to apply early because you can see the deadlines are a little bit earlier, November 2nd for early 1 and January 4 for early 2. And you're saying, if I'm admitted, I don't need to look anywhere else. I'm going to withdraw my applications from other institutions and I will absolutely enroll in Hopkins. It's important when you're considering early decision at any institution that you have the financial aid conversation early with your family, with whoever's supporting you in the college search process, so you'll know what you're committing to ahead of time. And we're going to talk about that shortly. The difference between Early Decision 1 and Early Decision 2 is just the date. Early Decision 1 students apply by November 2nd and they find out their admissions come mid-December and then they're done. Early Decision 2, which was new for us this year, they apply by January 4th and they find their admissions decision in mid-February. Regular decision. This is if you want to be able to have more time to complete your application and compare your offers of admission and financial aid later on in the process. In regular decision, you apply by January 4th, but it's not binding, which means that if you are admitted in mid-March, you have until the universal deadline of May 1 to decide if Hopkins is going to be that right fit for you. When it comes down to what we look for as an institution, which I'm going to be mentioning shortly, and the opportunities that we have for the limited merit-based scholarship that we have and the generous financial aid packages that we have, all of that is the same. It is the same across all those rounds. It really comes down to where you are in your college search process and what are your goals if you're ready to make that commitment early. So what are we looking for? We call these 3 things. We call them academic character, impact and initiative, and making the match. At Hopkins, we practice holistic review, which means there's no singular document, there's no singular part of your application that is going to be deterministic of your admissions decision. We look at all of it together to get a whole picture of you. And when we're reading, we start first with that academic character, which is asking, what kind of a student are you and how do you like to learn? This is, of course, a lot of the quantitative pieces of your application. We're going to look at your transcript, your grades from 9th grade all the way up through the time that you're applying to get a sense of not just a GPA, but the types of classes that you're taking. Are you challenging yourself with respect to what's offered to you at your specific high school? We learn what's available at your high school, and that's the context we're going to read you in. This is also the part of the application where students who choose to or not submit test scores would play a role. We have just announced that we will be, in light of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and impact on testing, remain test optional for another year in this upcoming 2022 application cycle. So those of you who'd be applying next year, you do have the test optional component, which means if you were able to take a standardized test, and you want it to be considered, you're welcome to send it along and we'll honor that request. It's no direct advantage in the process. Whereas students who were unable to test or feel that the score that they do have does not represent what they'd want to have in their application, they do not need to submit it and they will be at no disadvantage. In both our Early Decision 1 and Early Decision 2 rounds in this inaugural year, we admitted students with test scores and we admitted students without test scores because there's so much in the application to still draw from. Impact and initiative is that next piece. What are the ways in which you are leaving a lasting impact in your community, whatever community means for you? Think about this in terms of everything you're doing outside of your school day. Clubs, family responsibilities, part-time work, taking care of a loved one, in ways in which you might be involved in religious or cultural institution, participating in things like this through Next Gen. These are all ways that you are engaging in a community. And we get this in the activity section of the application, but it also might come through your letters of recommendation, of which we ask for 3. 1 from whoever plays the counselor role in your specific high school, and then 2 from academic area teachers who speak on your academics as well as your engagement to give us that full sense of who you are outside the classroom. Remember, we talked about how engaged our students are in student life. This is where we find out if they're going to be contributing members to our community. And finally, personal contributions and making the match. What are the Hopkins specific connections that we see in you mirrored back with us? We get this throughout the application, but for your purposes, I would think about it in terms of the essays, of which we require 2. The first is the personal essay, or sometimes known as the Common or Coalition essay. This is the one that goes to all the schools that you apply to. And that just gives us an initial sense of who you are. And then the second essay is the Johns Hopkins University supplemental essay. This will just go to us. And in the essay that we asked, or prompt that we asked this year, we asked students to say, is there any additional information you want to share with the admissions committee? Maybe it's an identity, a project, an interest that you have, and how you think that that's going to connect with your undergraduate experience. Another opportunity for you to share something with us that wouldn't be covered anywhere else in the application so that we get a fuller sense of who you are. All of this information is pivotal to us as we are finding the students who are going to be that best match for the institution. And finally, at the bottom of that slide, or near the bottom, you'll see we are on both the Common application and the Coalition for College application. We do not have a preference. Find the one that works for you, but pro tip, I say always talk to your school counselor. They might have a preference on the one that they want you to use, but otherwise we do not in that sense. Before we take questions on admissions, I do want to make sure I talk about our commitment to bringing in the best and brightest students into our community, regardless of their family's financial needs. So we know that the financial conversation is a large part of the college search process. And we also know that, especially this last year, there's been a lot of change in families. We are committed to bringing in students regardless of their family's financial circumstances. And we do this by meeting 100% of your demonstrated financial need. What does that mean? It means that through a review of your financial aid application, which is your FAFSA, that's the free application for federal student aid, plus the CSS profile, that's an additional application for financial aid, as well as some tax documents or maybe additional information based upon your circumstances, we estimate what can you and your family provide for 1 year at Hopkins. We then weigh that against the total cost of attendance, and as a private institution, that number is going to be higher, but it also means that we have more flexibility with financial aid. Whatever that difference is between what you and your family can provide and it costs to attend, we meet, we fill through funding that does not need to be repaid. We only offer grants as our financial aid packages. You can see that $0 in loans. That is thanks to the landmark gift of $1.8 billion, the largest gift ever given to a college or university by our alumnus, Michael Bloomberg, back in the fall of 2018, that ensures that our students do have the potential to graduate debt-free. It is something we're very excited to offer to our families so that our students can feel like they can fully engage in the undergraduate experience without the potential of debt on the other side. So with that, I'm going to pause again and see if we have any questions about admissions and financial aid in the last 10 minutes or so that we have.
I was just thinking, while that we give the opportunity for our students to type in the chat, and I know we did have a couple questions we might want to back up on. Excuse me, but what it was your experience with admissions, Cameron, from the student perspective?
Yeah, so as a student, I applied in, it was like 2017 to 2018. I went to a lot of different like info sessions and tours in person. And when I saw Hopkins, I loved it. I didn't really think I wanted to go to a school so close to home, but it's honestly amazing being able to go back and forth whenever I want and being semi-comfortable. So that experience was great. And then I applied through the Common App for Hopkins. I think my school wanted the Common App, so I think you just need to talk to your counselors about that. And yeah, it was definitely like an okay process, very stressful, but everything works out in the end.
Thank you for
I have a
sharing.
question. Do you guys have study hall?
Study hall?
Yeah, study hall. Do you guys have study hall?
So it's very different in college because you don't have class periods. You just have time that you are in class. So I guess you could say any time that you're not in class, you could use as study time. Cameron, you want to talk about how you carve out time to make sure you're working through your workload and balancing that with all your other responsibilities?
Yeah, you definitely need to plan a lot, especially at Hopkins. It is, I'm going to be honest, like semi bigger workload than high school. But there's always a lot of time just because I'm not in class like as much as I was in high school. So really like when I'm not in class, and when I'm not have another commitment, I'll be doing homework. You just really need to like learn your time management skills.
Great question. And I noticed we had another question in the chat from Shelby, and she said she would like to, it says, I would like to complete 2 years of dual enrollment before I graduate high school. Would dual enrollment accept these credits? Would Johns Hopkins accept those credits?
I can talk about this.
What is that?
So dual enrollment, this is an opportunity where at some schools you can take college classes, maybe at a local community college or a four-year college. Maybe they're taught by the professors and they're counting towards your high school and your college and potential college credit. This is something that not every school has. Remember, we talked about school context. It's not required for admission. We always review an application in the context of what was available to you at your school. So if your school doesn't offer dual credit or your school doesn't offer AP or IB, you are at no disadvantage because the rules are different at every school. But if you do have dual enrollment, first-year students are able to bring in a maximum of 12 credits from other colleges and universities. That does not count advanced placement or international baccalaureate, a maximum of 12 credits. You might have more than that accrued through your dual enrollment, and that's because dual enrollment is meant to really support your in-state institutions, whereas Hopkins is a private institution. And you might have the potential to transfer some of those credits, and that would be a conversation should you be admitted later on down the line. But from the beginning, the admissions perspective, taking challenging courses in the context of what's available to you are all great ways of demonstrating academic character. I did see a question, are there any scholarships? So again, we have that 100% need met financial aid, and that is where you're going to have the vast majority of our resources. We do offer some limited merit-based funding. It's limited because, again, our focus is not on merit. It's on making sure our families have the necessary resources to enroll, but there is nothing additional that students need to do for these merit-based scholarships. No priority deadline, no additional essay, no additional button you have to click. Students in early decision 1, early decision 2, and regular decision are all eligible, and we select them in all of those rounds. And it's just your application, again, that we're going to be reviewing. But when you're thinking about Hopkins, only a small portion of our entering class, and our entering classes are some truly exceptional students, are going to receive that funding. When you're thinking about, is Hopkins going to be a financial match for me? Think about it in terms of need-based financial aid and using the financial aid calculators, where that is the best way to plan.
And one thing I'd like to add to this is I know Johns Hopkins is a guaranteed access partner. So that means that if you are eligible for the guaranteed access grant, that Johns Hopkins will match that amount. So whatever amount you're eligible for up to, and this past year, it was 19,000 approximately. So that's 38,000 that Johns Hopkins would match. So definitely keep that in mind as an option. The amount doubles for private universities that participate in that partnership. So that's a really great option to consider.
We have
I see a hand raised.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Hi there. My question is that you did say that you guys meet like proven financial need, right?
That's correct.
So what if the financial aid I receive is not enough for my family? Is there a way to ask for more financial aid?
Yes, and that's an excellent question you should ask every school that you're looking at. So we do have a financial aid appeals process, and our financial aid office is quite public about those. So if the financial aid that you receive is not what you expected, there's a change in financial circumstances that wasn't caught in the first review, you can launch an official financial aid appeals process where they'll ask for more information and do a reevaluation with that new information.
Great question. Love it. Thanks to everyone for interacting. Bailey, I don't know the next step here for your presentation. And
yeah,
I
I think we are nearing the end. I do have a bunch of extra links that I can send. Carrie, what do you think would be better? When we drop them in the chat, or I know you have other programming coming on after Cameron and I leave. Would you like me to just put them in a follow-up email to you?
You can do both if you don't
Sure.
mind. And
yeah, I will get that set up
as
now.
you're wrapping up, everyone in the chat, please give a big thank you to Bailey and Cameron, and send a smiley face or applause. I know every platform's different, but you can
Sure.
definitely say thank you in the chat easily. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that and taking a moment to thank them, and we will now welcome our next guest for our STEM activity for Dr. Aaron Pannoni. And if that name rings a bell, he is a family member who went to Johns Hopkins. So I thought it might be neat to hear a perspective on the back end. You know, once you're finished school, we heard from Cameron as a current student, and now let's hear from someone who is in a career, in a STEM career, to help us provide an activity today to share with you and basically put the M in STEM and help us learn a real world connection to your classroom learning in high school and what that means. So welcome, Aaron, and you have the floor.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much. I'm so glad to be here today. And just to start, I had a lot of financial need when I went to Hopkins, and they met my financial needs. So even back when I met, they were doing a great job of making sure people who wanted to go there could go there, even if they didn't have a lot of money to pay tuition. So that you can believe that. I think that is absolutely true. So I guess I'll start off. I've got some slides, so I will see about, yeah?
Well, I was going to say, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you studied and what your position is now. I didn't do that, but I'll let you do that,
Yeah.
Aaron. And as you bring your slides up, maybe you can share that. But thank you for also sharing about the financial aid piece. That's really important for our students to know that it is possible to go to Johns Hopkins with debt-free. And, you know, they will meet your financial need. So thanks for sharing that.
Because it's easy to get scared off by that tuition price, which is, a gigantic number with a whole bunch of zeros after it. And it's key to hang in there and not get scared off by that number and go through the process and get your FAFSA filled out, which isn't easy. Like it takes some time to get all those documents together to fill out that FAFSA. But it was true then, and I was glad to hear that it seems to be even more true now. So that's wonderful. So my name's Aaron Pannoni, and I'm a faculty member in the School of Medicine at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I went to Fort Hill High School in Cumberland, Maryland, and I'm from outside of Cumberland. And then I went to Hopkins, where I studied physics. And I wasn't a particularly good student at Hopkins. So I was a C student, and my main connections at Hopkins what wasn't really my major. I had a work-study job where I worked 5 or 10 hours a week driving a shuttle van. So I drove students to the supermarket and back, and it was a really fun job of just chatting with people as we drove them back and forth to the supermarket. And I was really close with my church group, a group of friends that I made while I was there. So I had a really great experience, but it took a lot of adjustment going from Western Maryland to moving to Baltimore and going to a university with people from all over the world. But it wasn't just me going through that adjustment. It really was every single person there, whether they were from Baltimore or not, because your college, when you go to college, and live in a dorm with a bunch of people who start off as strangers, it is going to be an adjustment, but it works out. Everybody goes through it and adjusts to a new life situation. But like I said, I was a C student. However, nobody really ever. So if you want to go to grad school or medical school or something, in college, you really need to get good grades. But I had wanted to get a job and work after college, and nobody really ever looked at my grades. They would see that I was a graduate of Johns Hopkins on my resume and be really impressed. And being a Hopkins alum has certainly opened doors for me in my career of when I was looking for things to do. Especially, I've always been in, well, close by in Maryland or in Virginia or in a university setting, and people know of Hopkins and they've always been impressed, and that's been a major factor. So I think Hopkins certainly could be a good choice for your future. And let's see. So what I did was I graduated with my physics degree, and I ended up getting a job at Vanderbilt, working in the School of Medicine as a research assistant. So lots of my friends either went on to physics graduate school or moved to New York City to work on Wall Street. And I think some of those guys basically broke the whole world's financial system back in 2007. But but what I did, and it was really, I think, a lucky break because it set me up for the rest of my career. I went to Vanderbilt and I worked as a research assistant in the School of Medicine. And then that led me to doing that same thing here in Charlottesville at UVA. And then I decided that I would get a master's degree to advance as being a research assistant. And I worked on social science research to help communicate with people about living a healthy life and having a long, happy life. And that's what I'm doing now to this day. So I got my master's degree and I worked for 5 more years. And after that, I realized that academic research in public health really was the career I wanted. So now I'm 10 years out of undergrad, deciding what it is that I want to do with my life. So don't feel like you have to know, as a junior in high school. So I got my PhD and was fortunate enough to get a faculty position here in the School of Medicine. So I work with master's students in public health, community groups, researchers in the School of Medicine, and at all those areas, I help people understand what it is that they want to know and how can they use data, so numbers and math, to show that they're successfully doing whatever it is that they're doing, whether it is building a flu shot clinic or helping people exercise or eat right, or, and we'll see in my example, dealing with COVID. So that's the sorts of things that I do is, how can we use spreadsheets, numbers, math to show, hey, we're doing a good job here and we're really helping people in our community to live longer, happier lives. Carrie, is that a good explanation of my background?
I think you did great. Yes, I'm excited for your presentation, for them to learn about your research project that ties directly to COVID. Obviously, that's the topic of the year and even previous year, obviously. So, and how you can let us know the importance of the M in STEM, the math connection, what they're learning in their classrooms, in their algebra classrooms, particularly the equation you gave me the other day, and how that can solve and help with a real world problem right now, and what that looks like in a career, which you've just explained. So great. Present away.
Thank you. And yeah, I use a fair amount of high school math. It's true. So let me see if I can share my slides. Looks
Yeah,
like
when
I
they
can.
when they say, what am I ever going to use this math for? Well, here's the answer.
Yeah, it's one of the answers. So
One of the answers.
So here at the University of Virginia, they wanted to do more COVID testing, and we couldn't get enough swabs. So a swab looks like a big Q-tip, or almost maybe even like a mascara brush almost, that they use to test people for COVID. So they decided that they would start making their own swabs. And anything medical, whether it's a medicine or a piece of equipment like a swab or a surgery or things like that, has to be tested and approved before it can be used. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that process. So in case you don't know about COVID testing, has anybody here on this meeting had a COVID test up their nose?
Please feel free to put in the chat if you've had a COVID test.
It's it's okay if you haven't. It's wonderful if you haven't. I have not, but
I have not either.
They take the
Looks like
swab.
Andra, Chloe has.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yes.
That it can be unpleasant. I'm glad that you're here, and thank you for letting us know. So they put the swab up your nose, and these graphics are from the Center for Disease Control from the federal government, just to give you a little bit of idea. They send the swab off here in number 11, and then to get some testing. So I have a little video here that I don't think I'm actually going to show, because I think I'm just sharing my slide. I don't. Let me see here.
Well, when you do start to share your screen, you might have to back out of sharing your screen again, because if you share a video, you have to click on the share audio. When you'll be prompted to answer that question when you hit the share your screen button.
Oh, I see.
There'll be a box that says share video and then optimize for video, or share audio and optimize for video. Then we'll be able to hear it.
Can you see YouTube right now? No.
Well, no.
Well, I don't. Anyway,
I guess you also have to hit the screen when you share. When you share your screen, you have to hit the entire screen. There we go. Now, let's see if we can hear it.
Well, we don't need to hear it if I messed it up. I just wanted to show this little bit of this video. There's the COVID germ, and there it is right there. For those of you that don't know, they put this swab really far up your nose to test to see if the virus is present. So I was involved here at UVA in making some swabs so that we could do these tests. So I've stopped sharing. Now I'm going to go back to sharing those slides. There we go. So I'm looking at the slides, and so we made the news. That's my collaborator there, Amy Mathers, who's demonstrating one of the slides. I hope you're looking at a picture of a lady with a swab.
Yes, we are. Thank you.
And she heads up this project. And as you can see, we were in the news, and we made 75,000 swabs that they distributed all over Virginia so that people could do these COVID tests. Because last year at the time, you just couldn't get equipment of really any sort. I don't know if you remember when it was tough to find toilet paper or sanitizer. We couldn't find anything back then. So it was really successful. So this is just background to let you know what I'm talking about. And I've always got my links whenever maybe it's this way in high school, but once you get to college, universities are really strict when you use pictures for anything for school. You have to put where you got them. So I've got my link here of the news article where I got that picture.
I have a
And
question.
yeah,
So, if it, does it go like how far does it go up at the nasal?
you know, all I know is from that video, because I haven't had it done personally, it goes pretty far up. I think it goes up maybe halfway. If you can see the lady holding the swab, I think the swab, I mean, it goes really far. But other than the little video I showed, I don't have any real, I think it goes maybe not as far in children as it goes in adults or something like that. But that's a great question. I'm really glad you asked it, but that's as specific as I can be. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Maybe-
I just
Oh, go ahead.
never got done.
Oh,
I
yeah.
never got COVID test done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, me neither. It's true. So what they do is they take the stuff off the swab and they put it in a PCR machine. So that's this picture here. So they're looking for the CT, the cycle threshold, in this reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction SARS-CoV-2 test. So
That's a
and
mouthful.
it sure is. But this scientist here, she didn't build this machine. She's just, so, if you wanted to build machines like this, you could study what's called biomedical engineering, which is a really fascinating part of engineering where they build stuff that's used in medical science. But so anyway,
Excuse me?
yeah, yes.
I built in middle school. I built a 3D printer for our school.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. So maybe you would want to do things like build and work on machines like this PCR machine, and that's how they that's what takes the material from the swab and gives this number, this cycle threshold of, so they can help decide if this person has COVID or not. And so what I did was built this graph here. So they found people that had COVID and they gave them two different swabs, the store-bought, which is called standard of care, in one nostril, and then they took our prototype and put it up the other nostril and tested them to see if the CT values would be the same. And for the most part, they were. So there's this dot here all the way to the left, which was 10 in the prototype and maybe 11 or 12. But if you look at each of these dots, they're all pretty much the same for the prototype as for the store-bought swab. And using statistics, we could draw this line here. So we found that this is called a scatter plot, and we found that the reference line, this line was basically 1-to-1. That meant that the numbers from the swab we made for each one was basically the same as the store-bought swab, which was great. That's what we wanted to know. And then we also did a test to show that the median was not significantly different from the store-bought to the swabs we made. So you maybe have noticed some high school math here, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. So this line right here, what I used was y equals mx plus b. So it's what I think of as high school algebra. Some of you maybe studied this in middle school. Yeah, anybody recognize y equals mx plus b? Have you seen this before?
Put it in the chat, please. Share in the chat if you recognize this equation or even like this graph, from algebra, or if you've taken algebra, do you remember this? Just type in the chat. That's great.
Yeah,
So-
and I don't think I loved learning this in algebra in high school, but like I said, I used this formula to help the rest of the team show that these swabs work, so that these 75,000 people in Virginia got to have COVID tests that wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. So all of the work that I do and all of this math that I use, that, like I said, is stuff that you guys know about. I'm really glad that I'm able to use this math to help people. And as you can see, B is the intercept. So the intercept here went all the way back to 0 on the line that I made. And Y, those were the values for the store-bought swabs. And X, those were our prototypes. And they all pretty much matched. There was a little bit of rounding, but it was, for the most part, 1 divided by 1. And as you maybe know, any number divided by 1 is that number. So our slope is 1. So when I made this chart with the graph paper, I was able to move over 1 block and up 1 block. And when I did this, I used fancy software that we have here at UVA, but I wouldn't have had to have. I could have, with a pad and my graph paper, done all of this analysis. And then I looked at the median. So maybe you've heard of the median. So what the median is you line up all your numbers. We had 40 people, 20 people in the study, I think. So 20 left nostril and 20 right nostril. So we lined up all of our CT values, and the median just means that you pick the one in the middle. And we found that it was basically 20 compared to 23. So with a little more statistics, we were able to find that difference didn't really matter all that much. The numbers were basically close enough to get approval and permission from the government to sell our medical device, to not really sell, but to use.
To use it.
This,
That's great.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and it really is. I was just glad to be able to share that those are. I think you learned about medians in high school. Have you all heard about that before?
Yeah,
We
some of
learned
the
it in
students.
we learned it up in middle school too.
Oh yeah, I think the stuff, you guys are smarter than we were. The stuff that I learned in high school, I think you all are probably learning in middle school now. And when you go to college, if you're interested in stuff, there's always different ways of volunteering and working in public health projects. I do have a couple questions for the for the people that are here today. The first one is, we've really just talked about, so that's not really a question anymore. How does high school math help scientists? And it's things like the median and the graph paper with the y equals mx plus b and solving for x, or a lot of times what we do is we just count things up. So how many men were in the project, how many women, how many younger folks, how many older folks. And you can really do a lot of good just with that sort of familiarity and comfort level using numbers. So a question I have for this group, just to see what you guys think. Where's a good place to get information about COVID-19?
MDhealth.com, I think.
Yeah, that's a good place.
MD Health, okay. Anyone, you can put in the chat the answer
Yeah.
to these
Local
questions.
health departments.
Health departments is also another one. That's great.
Absolutely. Good.
Maybe sometimes like sometimes school websites that have maybe some university websites.
Yeah,
University.
your school, university. Hopkins actually has that dashboard that everybody in that works with COVID and even the newspapers have been using this whole time. That's really been a good source of information. Oh yeah, one more.
It begins with like the first letter of my name, if anyone knows. I'm giving out a hint there, but it begins with C. So maybe,
COVID.com.
well, no, maybe someone could put in the chat if they know that a lot of the recommendations have been given out by this organization. And it begins with C. Oh, there we go. We have an answer. Yes, Anaya, CDC. That's correct.
And that's
Very
where I
good.
got a lot of the pictures and information for this talk was from the CDC. So they're a trusted source for. They're not the only one, but they're a good trusted source. And then COVID's not the only thing going on in the world. I wanted to ask you guys what you see in your communities. I don't know if I'm still sharing or not,
Yeah.
but I am still
what other
sharing.
health problem have you seen in your community? Yes.
Yeah, is there anybody out there who's seen a health problem in their community, that's something that's important to them or people they know?
Do you want to just type it in the chat?
Sure, yeah, type it in the chat.
Type it in the chat. Or we do have a hand raised there.
Yes, with the hand raise, M, with the hand raise, you can. Yeah.
That was me. I by accident clicked it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. That's okay. You can definitely share in the chat if you have any questions or if you want to have an answer to that question. But I think we're getting close to wrapping things up, I guess.
Oh, sure. Wonderful.
And does anyone have any questions for Dr. Pannoni for about how he uses math in his? Please feel free to share the questions in the chat.
Question.
Yes.
It's for college. Like, is there does colleges look back on your middle school elementary grades?
Not that I know of. I don't think so.
Because I just wondered because I think a few colleges do that.
Yeah. Well, I believe Bailey even talked about the admissions process as a holistic process. They look at all kinds of different facets, not just your grades, and if you have the opportunity to take test scores, even though they are test optional, but you know, what you do in your community and things like that. All that is important. And typically they focus on the high school level, like from the beginning of your high school career, 9th grade through 12th grade. And they look at all of that information, your transcript as well, and attendance, things that, you know, show you can take on a challenge by taking AP, dual enrollment, higher honors courses. You know, those are all important things that they look at. So great question. Thank you, Dr. Pannoni, for joining us and sharing, putting an M back in STEM for us. You know, as a coordinator, working with students to help them figure out what kind of career to go into. And when someone's interested in math, it's hard to make those connections for students. And I think you just did a great job of that and showed how what they're learning in high school is relevant to a job and your job, particularly in public health, and how you work to help solve a health crisis. Because you're right, many communities, including your own, did not have enough medical supplies to test and to treat and to protect even healthcare workers. So coming up with solutions, and your data and numbers and your math high school math help solve that problem and help to provide extra testing swabs for your community. So kudos to you and thank you for joining us today. I just want to share everyone, please feel free to thank Dr. Pannoni. And at the same time, I'm going to bring my slide back up. And I need to share. Thank you again for joining us, but I would like the students to take a moment to, and I'm sharing my screen, to take a survey. We had a lot of information thrown at you today. This wonderful STEM activity and demonstration, how to connect math to your current classroom and what that looks like in the real world. Thank you again, Dr. Pannoni, for that. But take your phone, and also we're going to place the link in the chat for you to take the survey for all students. We want your opinion. We want to know how we can, what you learned today and what we can help you learn in the future for upcoming workshops. So use your phone to take a picture of the QR code. It'll take you directly to the survey link, and or just click in the link in the chat. But thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to leave this up for a moment while you're accessing your phone camera to scan the code. I always love using the QR codes. They're so quick and easy. You can pull it up right on your phone and take the survey quickly. We value your opinion and we want to help improve on our programs going forward. So that's how we do it. We look at what you put on the surveys, and we hope that you enjoyed this Johns Hopkins University learning experience. We want to thank you and thank all of our guests. But first, please remember our free resources, the Way to Be magazine and the Way to Be app. You can download the app for free, and you can explore colleges and more. You can even check out Johns Hopkins link to their college on our Way to Be app. There are lots of fun games and activities to help you with your college and career process, and even more information to help you on your journey. So thank you again to the Johns Hopkins admissions, Bailey, Jacqueline, Cameron, Yvette, Dr. Pannoni, and all of our Next Gen coordinators for the help with this event. Let me exit out here. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and thank you for spending the afternoon with us to learn all about Johns Hopkins. This is Carrie Pannoni, and I'm with Maryland Business Roundtable for Education and the Next Generation Scholars Program. We are so glad you could be with us today. Thank you and take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Make sure to take the survey. We value your opinion, and have a great day. Thanks, everyone.